Every year in the U.S., 500 to 600 people are fatally injured in firearms accidents. What can you do to make sure you won't be the cause of a firearm accident? My name is Jim Humphrey. I'm with Imminent Threat Defense Firearms Training. Today, I want to present 3 simple safety procedures you can practice with your instructor that will minimize the chances you will be involved in a firearm accident. We're going to discuss the causes of accidental discharges and how to prevent them, and the correct processes to unload the semi-automatic pistol. Let's begin. First, let's talk about that word accidental. There really is no such thing as an accident. Everything happens for a reason. To understand those reasons, we should more properly categorize why guns discharge when we don't want them to, as either the negligent discharge or the unintentional discharge. The negligent discharge occurs when we purposely put our finger on the trigger, then pull the trigger, not thinking the gun is going to discharge, but it does. There are several reasons this can occur. We may think the gun is empty and we're attempting to dry fire it. We may have thought the safety was engaged. We may be manipulating the pistol trying to solve some sort of malfunction. Or it may be a normal step in the process of disassembly. Whatever the reason, we pulled the trigger, not thinking it was going to discharge, but it does. That's the negligent discharge. The unintentional discharge, on the other hand, occurs when we don't mean to pull the trigger, but we do. First and foremost of the reasons for this event is poor finger discipline. In other words, resting the finger on the trigger when we're not ready to shoot. Finger on the trigger, combined with a number of physiological reasons, can cause us to pull the trigger. These physiological reasons include voluntary and involuntary muscle actions. For example, startle response. A loud noise goes off, you flinch, causing you to pull the trigger. Or loss of balance. When you slip, your hands involuntarily try to grasp something. Both of these get worse when you are in a deadly force situation and over-adrenalized. Additionally, you could bump up against something and jam your trigger finger, like when holstering with your finger still on the trigger. There are some other rare reasons like obstructions, say a piece of clothing or an object gets jammed against the trigger, or even more rare, mechanical failures, most likely caused by poor maintenance or something like a home trigger job. Safety statistics show us that for every fatality, there will have been 300 injuries, 3,000 near misses, and about 30,000 at-risk behaviors. That means there's probably 30 or 40 instances every minute of somebody in the U.S. mishandling a gun. What can we do to reduce the risk of a serious event as a result of either the negligent discharge or the unintentional discharge? Fortunately, the guidelines have been prepared for you. Just follow the fundamental NRA rules for safe gun handling. First, always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Second, always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And third, always keep the gun unloaded until it's ready to use. These rules form what safety professionals call layers of protection. Each rule provides an independent layer to reduce the risk of an accident. Let's examine these rules individually. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Yes, but what is a safe direction? And doesn't it seem like a good idea to establish that safe direction before you pick up the firearm? Well, you need to find something that will stop a bullet from your gun and not allow it to penetrate or skip. And it needs to stop it cold. In your home, that's probably going to require a brick or concrete wall. Most of the walls, floors, and ceilings in your home will not stop a bullet. So before you point a gun at a wall, think about what's beyond it. You can buy bullet traps or ballistic panels, and these can be effective, or just a bucket of sand is better than nothing. Also, I think it's important to mention, this is where most people go wrong. With this rule, they get distracted, and they lose track of where the muzzle is pointed. This is called poor muzzle discipline. Always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. This is not as easy as it sounds. It takes extensive training under the watchful eye of a good instructor. It can take thousands of repetitions to embed the subconscious behavior. Most shooters just go to the range, load up, shoot until they're empty, and then reload and repeat. Instead, try this. Shoot a few rounds at a time. Take your finger off the trigger. recover to the ready position or the holster, and then repeat. Fire a few rounds, finger off the trigger, and so on. This exercise will help you develop the correct finger discipline behavior. It's important to find a place on your gun that you can always go to with your finger when it's off the trigger. For me on the Glock, it's the slide lock. This is called indexing, and giving yourself that tactile input for your finger so that it knows it's in a safe location. This will help you embed the behavior. Now, the third rule. Always keep the gun unloaded till it's ready to use. All right, that sounds easy, but how do you properly check to see if a gun is unloaded? So you aren't the one saying, I thought it was empty. Well, we want to consider two scenarios. First, when we aren't sure if the gun is unloaded. And the second, if we know it is loaded. First, let me say, this is an administrative task, which means we are in no hurry. These procedures we do slowly and methodically. We don't allow any distractions, we don't lose control of the muzzle, and if we get interrupted, we start over. So let's say we want to take a gun out of the case. Sure, we may have put the gun in the case ourselves just a few hours ago, but we're going to go through this procedure every time we pick up a gun if we aren't in the process of loading it that instant. First, determine your safe direction. At the range, it's pretty easy. Downrange. Open the case and check to see if the pistol is pointed in a safe direction. If not, close the case, reorient, and then reopen the case. Now we're going to remove the gun with two hands. We're going to, keeping our fingers off the trigger, we're going to grip the gun with our support hand, hold it up, and establish our grip with our shooting hand. Maintain the correct muzzle discipline. Now first, remove the magazine. Inspect the magazine. Store the magazine. Now, as we know, just because the magazine was empty doesn't mean the chamber is empty. Now we're going to rack the slide forcefully 3 times and lock the slide to the rear. Now I'm going to visually and physically inspect the chamber and the magazine well, and then I'm going to pause, I'm going to look away, I'm going to come back and do it again. I'm going to visually inspect the chamber and physically inspect the chamber and visually and physically inspect the magazine well. Key points here. We rack the slide 3 times to clear the chamber. We don't want to be trying to lock back the slide with a round in the chamber. It's too easy to lose muzzle discipline while locking back the slide. Locking back the slide requires practice and coordination. Here's the technique. First, push up on the slide stop lever, then pull the slide back. Most people try to do it the other way around, which requires too much timing and coordination. If you're left-handed, you'll have to learn to use your trigger finger to push up on the slide stop lever. With your trigger finger on the slide stop lever, then pull the slide to the rear and lock it. You can also grip the pistol a little further forward. Keep your index finger free and use it to pull up on the slide stop lever. I prefer the first method, and I'll explain why in a minute. You can also use an empty magazine. I recommend this for shooters that don't have the hand strength to manage the pistol easily and maintain muscle discipline. Additionally, some pistols, this is the only way you can lock back the slide. Several popular concealed carry pistols don't have slide stop levers. When we check the chamber and the magazine well, it's important to visually and physically inspect them. Using your finger slows you down and connects you to the thought to the actions. Also, maneuver your body around the gun, not the gun around your body. This will help you maintain good muzzle discipline. Now, this all might seem excessive. Well, it is. So that if we're ever going to try to do this in poor light or with a strange pistol, it's still going to work. Take the 1911 pistol. Because the chamber is recessed inside the slide, it's a little difficult to see into the magazine well when looking in the chamber. You can, quite easily with a poor technique, load the gun when you think you're clearing it. By using a poor grip technique like the slingshot, and not removing the magazine, and not locking the slide back, and just looking into the chamber, at the angle I need to see in the chamber, I can't see the round on the top of the magazine. Now, I just chambered a round. Now, notice I'm using dummy ammunition here. Never use live ammo when you're learning these techniques. Okay, what about the situation where we know the gun is loaded? We should use exactly the same process, but too often we don't. We get distracted by the round we know is in the chamber. Let me show you. So here I have a pistol. I've been carrying it. It's loaded with dummy ammunition, and I know it's loaded. So I'm going to establish a safe direction, draw, remove the magazine, inspect the magazine, store the magazine. Now rack the slide 3 times forcefully. Then lock the slide to the rear, and visually and physically inspect the chamber and the magazine well. Look away, pause, do it again. Now, set the gun down before you recover the loose round. And if we're going to do some work on this gun, we're going to remove the live ammunition from the work area. If you're concerned about losing the round, roll the pistol so the round ejects straight down, and you can keep track of it, but leave it there until you're finished clearing the pistol. You must eject the round forcefully. Don't try to trap it or catch it. You want the round to clear the ejection port so there's no chance it will get caught between the ejector and the slide. This has been known to detonate a round and seriously injure people who've had their hand over the ejection port attempting to catch the round. Most of all, finish clearing the pistol before you mess with that round. In summary, it's simple. Follow the 3 fundamental rules. First, always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Second, always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Third, always keep the gun unloaded until it's ready to use. When clearing your firearm, take your time. Don't get distracted. Be disciplined and do this every time you pick up a gun. Is all this effort worth it? If you never have a negligent or unintentional discharge, it will be. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm Jim Humphrey from Imminent Threat Defense Firearms Training. Until next time, keep training, join the NRA, and be safe out there.